Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players. Here on this show, we take a look at an up-and-coming North American talent. Each week, we check out a new player to get a feel for their personality and their playstyle. On Thursday, we interview the player to find out more about who they are and why you should care about them. On Friday, we watch 3 of their games as we cover their playstyle in each of the 3 matchups. Saturday, we take a look at an awesome game they played and relax with a little bit of fun as we recap the week and get an analysis of the games. Breaking Out will cover 8 players before it culminates into the Breakout Invitational. With a minimum prize pool of $1,000, we find out who is the most likely player to break out of the North American scene. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players that you need to know about. Today on the show, it is the awesome day of the week, and we're going to get started immediately with a TVZ on our hands as I kind of shift that camera over to the right-hand side. I am so jittery and so ready for this game. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we spawn down here in the bottom side of the map. Heavy Rain on top of the red Zerg player representing, I have no idea what team, but that is definitely a Tempo StarCraft reference. OGS Prime RC. Spawn down here in the bottom right hand corner. I am OGS Prime, the ultimate opponent. Oh man, I wish Tempo was here right now, but he is not, and we're going to go ahead and introduce the player in the top left hand side, and he is the highlight player of the week representing Core Gaming. Give a hand to EJK, who has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 SCVs. That's a little bit fewer than we need. Oh, here's why. We have a proxy barracks. Gas guys are going down for EJK. EJK being a little bit cheeky, going for a little bit of early aggression. Probably going to open it up with a Reaper opening, proxy Reaper opening. Now will OGS Prime, OGS Prime RC realize what's going on. He sees the gas guys are going up, and he has got to immediately realize, okay, wait a second, this is not just some simple expansion first, CC first kind of move. There is a gas geyser down. He's going to throw down that spawning pool immediately. Gets up the gas geyser as well. It's going to be so important for him to try and get up that eventual Zergling speed to deal with any kind of early Reaper aggression. Now the barracks is finished up. The gas is just now coming up, and the Reaper gets started. So how much damage will EJK actually be able to do with this? I mean, I don't think that he was expecting to necessarily see that early drone scout from his opponent, OGS Prime. And that means that with the drone scout, his opponent had a little bit extra time to prepare. Now, a second barracks is going up. The drone has actually already found the 2 barracks, and he is actually going to be able to stop this second barracks from actually going up. That is a really, really fantastic win over here for OGS Prime. EJK going to be in a lot of trouble, but still that Reaper going to come out, and it looks like the SCV just kind of buying itself time while the Reaper actually managed to get out. Oh, has to be so careful with that SCV. He does not want to lose that SCV while he's still trying to finish up the second barracks. That's going to be a huge amount of extra damage he can do, but oh, look at this Roach Warren going up. This is really going to put a timer on how much damage this Reaper is going to be able to do, as well as the following Reapers. Zergling's now on creep, doing a good job chasing down that Reaper, and honestly, OGS Prime is doing a fantastic job of just holding this off so far. I'm a little bit concerned for EJK. He doesn't really have too much of a follow-up behind all this. I mean, he's just kind of getting up the second barracks. Oh no, he actually cancels the second barracks. Looks like he just decides to go in for it. I mean, he's seen... Oh no, he hasn't seen the Roach Warren, but I think that he has seen that the gas is mining, so maybe he's just saying, well, you know what, it's going to be hard to do a whole lot of damage regardless. And now he sees that Roach Warren. That is going to be a very, very difficult read to have to deal with at this point, because now he knows, hey, look, there's a Roach Warren. There's no way that these Reapers are going to be able to continue to do damage. And actually, he did notice that the Zerglings are now missing, so he's going to go ahead and retreat back, try and find these Zerglings, try and pick them off, make sure they don't do too much more damage. And bunkers going up. I'm actually a little bit concerned if that is a complete wall off. It's always a little bit hard to tell during these kind of opening moments, but Zerglings are going to come in and reassure that it is actually, in fact, a complete wall off. So EJK not going to have to worry too much about Zerglings running rampant in his base. Zergling's going to get scared, though, on the factory timing. Sees that, Widowmine's going to be coming out, but EJK, I mean, he's been dealing with a bit of a weird game himself, not really doing as much damage as he probably wanted to with those Reapers, and now we saw that he was a little bit supply blocked for a while, so that Widowmine going to be slightly delayed, but he's going to need as many units as possible to deal with these Roaches. Roaches making their way across the map. Reapers instantly turn around. Good control from EJK. Going to want to get out of there before those Roaches are able to get the nice pickoffs, because if he can at least control a little space with these Reapers, he can stop his opponent from just purely droning up behind all this. Is gonna force out some extra Roaches. The Queen gonna be over here, but that's 3 Reapers. 3 Reapers can actually take on a Queen with some nice little micro, and actually he managed to pick off 2 drones, going for a third, going for a whoa, actually he's killed off a lot of drones already, as he even forces a couple of these Roaches back, and there are actually no Roaches able to be aggressive on the other side of the map. This has worked out beautifully for EJK, as in the end, he managed to kill off a total of 9 workers. Very well done. OGS Prime falling down to 17 drones, and only just now starting up that natural expansion. So EJK gonna be feeling pretty good about that, I should say. And, I mean, he's bought enough time. He's gotten up a couple of Widow Mines. I don't think that he should actually die to any of these kind of Roaches. The Roaches actually just going after the barracks at this point, trying to make sure that no additional units are being produced, and forcing the lift off, forcing it to run all the way back home. But still, I really like EJK's position now. I mean, he's gotten out a couple of these Widow Mines. These Roaches are going to take a lot of damage just trying to move up the ramp, especially if OGS Prime doesn't actually split up his Roaches. I mean, is he even really going to be expecting this many Widow Mines just sitting at the top of that ramp? I'm not entirely sure. But regardless, single Reaper going to come back home. It's not really going to make the biggest difference, I think, in the defense. But it's going to add a little bit of extra DPS. Now we end up seeing 1 Roach actually soaks up 2 of the Widowmine hits. The final Widowmine does actually end up going off on these Roaches, kind of softening them up a little bit. But EJK is forced to pull a bunch of his SCVs to try and repair this wall, and he ends up losing a lot of those SCVs. The bunker gonna have a hard time being repaired. The Widowmine's not gonna be coming off cooldown for a little bit. Another Widowmine gonna be popping out very, very soon. There are still 3 Roaches left over, as that Reaper is actually doing quite a bit of work on those Roaches, and actually he managed to actually pick off a lot of those Roaches without actually letting that wall and fall in. Wow, 2 Reapers managed to pick off all the Roaches eventually, and that is a really solid win for EJK, but he lost a lot of SCVs. 5 SCVs lost this early in the game in such a low economy situation. EJK is going to be hurting after that, especially with no command center having been started up until just now. And, I mean, OGS Prime, he has finally been able to do a good bit of damage. He's finally been able to get up his own natural expansion. That means that he can do things like throw up the double evolution chambers, start to drone up a little bit, start to get up his gas geysers, and start to tech up. As long as he can deal with these 2 Reapers who, and honestly, these 2 Reapers, once again, being very, very cost effective. We already have 1 kill, 7 kills on one of those Reapers, although a lot of those kills are actually Roaches, believe it or not. But still, an additional 3 drones killed off. That's definitely every single bit of damage that EJK can do is going to help, because you can see the worker disparity right now. It's 39 drones to 21 SCVs. The National Command Center is just now going to be finishing up, but EJK is still going to be in a very uncomfortable position after all of that damage has kind of been done. Just because OGS Prime, again, he has that ridiculous worker lead. He has the double evolution chambers thrown up for extra upgrades. He's getting up his tech. He's basically getting everything he wants to. And all he has to do is make sure that these 2 Reapers don't really do too much more damage. Because, honestly, EJK doesn't have a whole lot else he can be aggressive with. He has the Viking, which is going to pick off a couple of Overlords. That's awesome. It's actually going to be a little bit difficult because the Queen is already going to be here to protect those Overlords from going down. A really nice positioning on the Overlords from OGS Prime, just kind of pulling him back and recognizing that there was that Viking out earlier on that picked off the scouting Overlord. But now we wait and see what exactly does EJK do in this situation. He's coming back in with a Reaper, again, trying to be as annoying as possible. Behind this, he's getting up Banshees and he's getting up Siege Tanks. He's really preparing to do a big push out whenever he gets up those units. And it's going to be a bit of a scary one, because you can see that, honestly, OGS Prime really only has Zerglings and Roaches to actually be able to defend anything with. He's making a ton more Roaches, which is going to be in his benefit. But, I mean, 2 Siege Tanks going to be produced at a time very soon. Banshees are going to be able to do a lot of damage to those Roaches. So how exactly does OGS Prime defend against the Banshees? I mean, he's not going to be able to be aggressive in his own right, because honestly, these Roaches are just going to get picked off very slowly by these Banshees. And with a second Banshee coming out, we don't have a cloak coming out, but he's not going to need it. That's going to be the honest truth. He doesn't need Cloak against Roaches because the Roaches can't actually attack him anyways. And now these Roaches are kind of frantically deciding, what do I do? What do I do? They're going to decide to go in. They're realizing that they're going to take so many losses. No, they're actually retreating back in a very, very awkward path. More Roaches going to be coming in. Honestly, I feel like OGS Prime has enough Roaches that he might be able to just go for it. And yes, he's going to decide to finally go for it. A second Banshee does pop its way in. The 3 Widowmines immediately fire up their shots, weakening up a lot of those Roaches. And with the Overseer actually not following in, that means that the Sea Shank is going to be able to get some really nice damage done in over here. The SCV is going to be falling, and it looks like the Roach is doing a good amount of damage. Only 25 SCVs left over for EJK, but the Overseer is here. And now that Sea Shank is going to be very, very vulnerable, as well as these 3 Widowmines. But it looks like only 2 of the Widowmines do get picked off. The Banshees managed to clean up the rest alongside that Sea Shank. And EJK, honestly, all things considered, holding on relatively well against the massive number of Roaches. But I still have got to hand it to OGS Prime. He still has a really nice lead. But I still think that EJK took a bit of a favorable engagement there. So if he can take 1 or 2 more favorable engagements, if he can keep taking those kind of defenses, and maybe even put on a little bit more aggression with these kind of 2 Banshees over here, he may be able to come back into this game economically. I mean, it's still going to be difficult. We have Hydralisk out for OGS Prime. We have the Overseer out just in case that there is Cloak, but there is no Cloak researched. So EJK is going to have to control this out fantastically, but 3 Banshees, that's actually not something to scoff at. That can actually do a lot of damage if these Hydralisks are just out of position even once. It could be a lot of trouble for OGS Prime. OGS Prime continuing to get those upgrades. We can actually already see that he has the +1/+1 for those Roaches and Hydralisks. +2/+2, getting pretty close to finishing up. About 60 seconds, a minute out. And in the meanwhile, you can see EJK just has not had much of an economy to crank out double upgrades. He's getting a single upgrade from that armory, getting up the +2 weapons. Already has +1 weapons finished up, and getting up Cloak, which is a bit of an interesting decision. I mean, he's seen how many of these Overseers has been around. He's seen probably that the Spore Crawlers have actually been around as well. And it's going to be very, very difficult to make a whole lot of damage happen, even with Cloak actually being out. But I guess that could be helpful with the defenses if you can pick off those Overseers. These 3 Banshees doing a good amount of damage over here. I mean, as long as he doesn't lose them, it's actually going to be a pretty worthwhile to have these 3 Banshees out on the map at this point. They were helpful with the defense earlier on. Oh, ends up losing one of those Banshees. Not exactly what you want to have happen. But those Hydralisks actually just going to be sitting at the natural expansion. Now he has the awkward moment where he says, does he send the Hydralisks over to the main base or the natural expansion? He might actually even just want to split them up. Repositions the Spore Crawler. That is a really nice decision. But these Banshees are actually just keeping these Hydralisks at home for a little bit. Now there's actually only 1 Spore Crawler over here in the main base. So this Spore Crawler does get picked off. Or it actually may have even been a Spire. I'm not entirely sure. But the Banshee's doing a good amount of damage. They may even be able to go after this Hydralisk den. That could actually be a really, really nice win over here. But the Overseer comes in. The Hydralisk now chasing after those Banshees. Banshee's going to have to back up. Roach is leading the charge, realizing that they actually can't do a whole lot. These Banshees have so much energy left over just because they've been pooling it up from that early attack that they were made for. And this is buying EJK a lot of time to try and get up as many SCVs as possible. Continue to get out a couple of these Sea Shanks, get out these Thors, and really transition to that mech style. He has a couple of Hellions also moving their way across the map. The Banshees now coming back in over here, trying to harass down that Hydralisk den. The Hydralisk den starting to take some damage. The Hellions coming into the 3rd expansion, going after that Queen. Not exactly the best focus fire over here from EJK, but he does kind of reposition his units. The Queen now going after those Banshees, but some nice micro from EJK keeps both of those Banshees alive. Continues to go after the Hydralisk den. The Hydralisk den getting so low on health. Where are the Hydralisks? The Hydralisks are trying to deal with other units. They're trying to actually go ahead and go for the attack over here. The Thors doing a good job picking up as many of those units as possible, but the bunker falls. The Sea Shanks gonna be so important in this engagement, but the Overseer does give that high ground vision and does pick up both of those units, and now the Hydralisk den has been picked up. The Hellions are still actually working their way in that 3rd expansion, and it looks like EJK going to be able to hold amazingly enough. Could this be the defense that EJK needed while actually being able to continue to do aggression on the other side of the map? The Spore Crawler is still there. That Queen gonna be able to try and pick away at those Banshees. The Banshees running very, very low on energy. They managed to recloak at the last second and get out of there alive and well, and with quite a few kills. We can see over here 15 kills on one of the Banshees, and on the other Banshee we have another 6. Very, very worthwhile investments over there for EJK. The Hellions also doing a good amount of damage. 41 workers killed so far this game. And the EJK, I mean, you could just imagine 41 workers. That would actually put OGS Prime back up to something like 91 workers. That is absolutely insane. Or 99 workers at this point. If EJK had not been able to do as much damage as he has this game. So really, really well done by EJK. And he has definitely been able to equalize himself a bit in this game. And you have to remember that even though he's down a little bit in the worker count, he has a very, very cost-effective mech army now. He has Thors out. He has a handful of those Hellbats out. He has the Banshees for that kind of harassment on the other side of the map. He's getting out more Thors and just more Hellbats. I'm kind of surprised he's not adding in any more Siege Tanks, considering he's seen how many of these freaking Roaches and Hydras that his opponent has been making. But I guess that the Siege Tanks are actually probably the most immobile part of this composition that he could probably add in. So he wants to be at least a little bit mobile. But at the same time, he probably wants to get a third expansion if he wants to have that slightly more mobile force. I mean, he definitely wants to transfer over some of these workers from his main base that's basically getting mined out. And now he's going to move out across the map, see what damage he can do. Because he knows that he can't let his opponent sit on those 4 bases for too long. But oh, I mean, it looks like OGS Prime wants to put on a little bit of aggression of his own, and if EJK actually moves out with this entire force and is completely unprepared to defend, he could be in a lot of trouble, but it looks like that's actually not going to be the case. OGS Prime gonna go back and try and defend, but oh, this is gonna be such an awkward angle. He's so far out of position, and this is gonna give EJK a great chance to actually get into the right position. The Mutals now out, but the Thors are in a pretty large number. It's going to be very difficult for these Mutals to do a whole lot of damage over here. The Hydras and the Roaches coming in from both sides, coming in from the low ground, coming in from the high ground, but these Thors are standing strong. I think that there are even a couple of SCVs sitting in the mix, repairing up whatever units are getting damaged. A handful of these Marines even be able to soak up a couple of those shots from those Roaches, adding in a little bit extra DPS. It looks like we're getting a little bit of lag for my PC or something over here. I don't know what's going on, but it looks like it finally irons itself out. The EJK going to continue to push in over here, easily going to take out that third hatchery, and still sitting with a very, very strong and formidable army. What exactly is OGS Prime going to be able to do in the situation? Nice joke, he says. Oh man, not too happy about how this went. I mean, he definitely had a nice little advantage in this game. Was sitting up a huge number of workers, but honestly, sitting on those Roaches and just not being able to do the damage against EJK, especially with EJK's defense with the Banshees, being able to do that multi-pronged aggression with the Hellions, he manages to take the game, manages to do additional damage with those Banshees from the bottom side. More workers killed off in the natural expansion and in that third expansion, and EJK doing a great job coming back in this game from a very, very dire situation. So very well done by EJK. And with that being said, guys, that is going to put an end to the awesome game of the week. Definitely go ahead and check out EJK. You can find all of the links to his stuff, his YouTube, etc., over in the Twitch chat. If you're watching this live on Twitch, if you're watching this on YouTube, all the links are down below. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the next segment. That's going to actually be the analysis segment. Normally we'd have the pure CTF segment, but we're just switching it up just a little bit, you know, giving a little bit of learning time right after the awesome game of the week. So we will see you right there. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.